Let me ask you a question. Who is Segata Sanshiro? Most folks would shrug and say they have no idea, but the more enlightened among us would probably say that he was the Japanese mascot for the Sega Saturn in the late 1990s. Segata Sanshiro is remembered as a wacky karate man who beat people up and demanded that they play Sega's new 5th generation video game console called the Sega Saturn. But personally, I feel that explanation leaves a lot to be desired. Who was Segata Sanshiro, really? The lore goes deeper than you could possibly imagine, which is why today I will be partnering up with an amazing fellow YouTuber named Johnny.
Hey fake gamers, I'm Johnny. I make videos about Monkey Ball and Pokemon and lawsuits, and today on 90s advertising mascots.
Today we're going to take a deep dive into the world of Segata Sanshiro, one of gaming's weirdest commercial mascots and an absolute meme of a character, I might add, and make sure that the legend of Segata Sanshiro will never die. This topic was actually suggested by someone on the channel before, so I hope you're happy. Now, we've already established that Segata Sanshiro was the offbeat mascot for the Sega Saturn, but I wouldn't blame you if you had very little real understanding of what a Sega Saturn even is. Given how unpopular it was in the United States, I never even heard of the thing until a few years ago, and I've been playing video games my whole life. It's often forgotten since it's crammed in the middle of Sega's console timeline between the immensely successful Sega Genesis and Sega's swan song, the Dreamcast. And even when the Saturn had potential to be relevant during the 32 and 64-bit era, it was a total commercial failure in North America, only selling a paltry 1.8 million units. That may sound like a lot, but when compared to its competitors, that is simply pathetic. The Nintendo 64 sold over 20 million consoles, and the Sony PlayStation, far and away the leader of the pack, over 40 million. Unsurprising, considering the Saturn was the most expensive of the bunch. It didn't even have Super Mario or Crash Bandicoot.
The Saturn barely even had Sonic, unless you want to play a port of a questionable Genesis game, or like Race to Europop or whatever. They were gonna do a mainline Sonic game called Sonic Extreme, but they didn't, so I guess you're just gonna have to make do with Knights.
I mean, shit, it didn't even have blast processing.
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Super Nintendo doesn't. So what's blast processing do? What if you don't have blast processing?
However, the Saturn did find some limited success in Japan. There it sold 5.8 million units, even outperforming the Nintendo 64. That's probably why I often think of the Sega Saturn as that console with a treasure trove of incredibly bizarre Japanese exclusives. If you would like to see more insane out-of-context clips from some of the weirdest games from the Saturn and PS1, I recommend checking out the YouTube channel Classics of Game. It is a special time. It's no surprise then that the iconic mascot Segata Sanshiro was also a Japan exclusive. The character was played by Hiroshi Fujioka, a very recognizable actor in Japan who is best known for playing the titular Kamen Rider in the original Showa-era tokusatsu series that ran from 1971 to 1976. As I write this, a new film directed by Hideaki Anno called Shin Kamen Rider is playing in Japanese theaters. Kamen Rider is a household name in Japan and arguably one of its most popular live-action exports, along with other tokusatsu superhero titles like Ultraman and Super Sentai, better known in the States as Power Rangers.
You can't hurt me! Go Bozak! It's too powerful! We need a new plan!
The character Segata Sanshiro is a parody of a legendary judo fighter named Segata Sanshiro from Akira Kurosawa's debut film Sanshiro Sugata. That character, in turn, was based on the real-life judo master Saigo Shiro. So many layers. All of this information would be pretty common knowledge for Japanese audiences watching these commercials on TV in 1997. However, most of these pop culture references are probably lost on Western audiences discovering the commercials for the first time on the internet. In the ads, Fujioka would don a judo gi and become Segata Sanshiro, a master of all martial arts and a seriously hardcore Sega Saturn gamer. He would convince people to play Sega Saturn with a very persuasive technique, beating the shit out of them with his fists of fury.
野球しようぜ。オッケー。行こう行こう。お前ら今日はやったよ。任しとけ。
Segata Sanshiro!
姿三四郎。
セガサターンしろ。音速ハリネズミソニックのレースゲームソニック R。セガサターン。
It's an incredibly strange concept for a video game commercial, and yet somehow, it just works. Segata is simultaneously both a horrifying, imposing bringer of death and destruction, and also an inspiring force of nature, oozing with confidence and determination. But he's not just a fighter, he's a lover too.
もしも誰かを好きになったら銀河に羽をこぎ出すでしょう。もしも誰かを好きになったら星にもワルツを踊らせましょう。
Over the course of the campaign, Segata Sanshiro actually chills out significantly, and instead of assaulting unsuspecting victims like he did in his first few appearances, he reforms himself into a sports-loving superhero. He plays soccer, ice skates, and indulges in Japan's favorite pastime. It kind of reminds me of how, like, in the first Terminator movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger is this, like, murderous android, but then by the time the second movie, Judgment Day, comes around, he turns into this, like, goofy action hero. That's it, Segata Sanshiro is a Terminator. Before revealing the climactic conclusion of the commercial campaign, you might like to know that Segata Sanshiro's name is also a multi-layered pun. It's a near homonym of his catchphrase,
Sega Saturn Shiro!
which means both play Sega Saturn, sometimes translated as you must play Sega Saturn, and Sega Saturn Shiro, or Sega Saturn White, a reference to the cool new color option for the Saturn hardware. So basically, the character's name is a triple pun, while also being a pop culture reference. Did I mention he also has a theme song? You've been hearing it throughout this entire video. It's a song aptly titled Sega Saturn Shiro, written by Koji Ando, composed by Fumio Okui, and performed by vocalist Mojo. It accompanies nearly every appearance of Segata Sanshiro in the TV commercials. The song bears a striking resemblance to the original Kamen Rider theme song, Let's Go Rider Kick, which was actually sung by Hiroshi Fujioka himself all the way back in 1971. Why don't you take a listen and see if you detect some similarities. Funnily enough, Hiroshi Fujioka also sang an alternate version of the Segata Sanshiro theme that was released as a CD single in 1998. I can only imagine how much you'd have to love these commercials to buy a CD of a Mascot's theme song, but that goes to show how popular the character was at the time. The CD featured 3 songs: Sega Saturn Shiro, with vocals by Ichiro Tomita, aka Mojo, one with vocals by Hiroshi Fujioka, and an instrumental karaoke version in case you wanted to rock out to the Segata Sanshiro theme at your next karaoke party. Or you're a YouTuber and you want some themed background music. The 2 singers actually collaborated on a live performance at the spring 1998 Tokyo Game Show, with Hiroshi Fujioka performing the spoken word bridge of the theme.
真面目に遊ばぬ奴らには体で覚えさせるぞセガタサンシロセガタサンシロセガサタンシロ若者よ真剣に取り組んでいるものがあるか命がけで打ち込んでいるものがあるかセガサターンしろ指が折れるまで指が折れるまで
Not only that, a remix CD called DJ Segata, Sega Saturn Remix Shiro by electronic music producers DJ Bali K and Dog or God was released in 1998. It uses samples from Segata's theme song and turns the anthem into club mixes and some downbeat electronic. One of the songs, Dog or God's Type New Mix, honestly kind of reminds me of something you'd hear on DJ Shadow's album Introducing from 1996. Pretty cool stuff. Thanks to some excellent archival work at the YouTube channel Saturn Memories, we actually have some footage from behind the scenes of a Segata Sanshiro commercial shoot. We get to see what it was like on the set of the Christmas spot, where Segata Sanshiro cosplays as Colonel Sanders, Santa, to traumatize some children. I was baffled trying to figure out where this footage came from, so I reached out to the owner of Saturn Memories, and they divulged its source. It's from a Saturn promotional disc called Mokitate Sega Saturn Volume 2. This was released by Sega Partners, a Japanese Sega fan club that was active in the late 90s. These discs would include behind-the-scenes content, interviews, and playable demos, similar to PlayStation Underground's demo discs in the States. In the footage from Mokitate Sega Saturn Volume 2, we get to see some unsung heroes, the crew that made the Segata Sanshiro commercials come to life. I think it's pretty funny that they're using Sony equipment for a Sega commercial, but I guess it could be worse. They could be shooting it with a Game Boy camera. I'm sad to say that the reign of Segata Sanshiro was not to last forever. Since his identity and sense of purpose, not to mention all the puns, were directly tied to the Sega Saturn, when it was time to upgrade to the next-gen console, the Dreamcast, that also meant that Segata Sanshiro had served his purpose. It was time to retire the character. But the folks at Sega would not let Segata Sanshiro go out gently. Oh no. He would go out with a bang. Literally.
あとはドリームキャストの発売を待つばかりだ。
Segata Sanshiro は君たちの心に真剣遊戯 Sega Saturn.
And so, Segata Sanshiro becomes a hero, sacrificing himself for the greater good. You might think that our tale is over now that it seems Segata Sanshiro has been turned into space dust, but we haven't even talked about his penchant for cameos in video games, or his very own Sega Saturn game titled Segata Sanshiro Shinken Yuugi. Let's see if Segata Sanshiro's own serious games are worth bearing his name.
This fucking sucks!
That final commercial you just saw where Segata Sanshiro saves the world, or at least the Sega headquarters, was actually an advertisement for his own Saturn game, a gaming memorial to commemorate his sacrifice. Segata Sanshiro Shinken Yuugi, which translates to Segata Sanshiro's Serious Games, was released on October 29, 1998, very late in the Saturn's lifespan, less than a year away from the release of the Dreamcast in North America. In Japan, the Dreamcast launch was literally weeks after the release of the game.
Segata's very own Saturn title is a collection of minigames developed by Echolay Software, whose claim to fame is a shitty Saturn light gun game called Death Crimson that, according to SegaRetro.org, quote, was universally panned for its terrible graphics, frustrating hit detection, disorienting camera, and a feedbackless calibration screen unable to inform players where shots are fired. They also ran the software label Reindeer, which made adult visual novels like Utao Tumbling Dice. I think this game's in good hands.
To break it down for you, the game is basically a collection of 10 mini-games, all with very colorful titles that you'll see later on. While completing one of these mini-games is not particularly difficult, with a few exceptions, the ultimate goal is to achieve a high enough score to unlock one of the Segata Sanshiro TV commercials, viewable from the main menu. Since each mini-game is based on one of the TV spots, you're able to unlock each game's associated commercial. The game gives you one commercial just for booting it up. That's the very first commercial that ever aired. For just completing a minigame, any game, you unlock a training montage of Segata Sanshiro honing his skills. I'm guessing the purpose of this is to encourage you to get good. You'll end up seeing this video a lot since it plays at the end of every minigame where you don't meet the win conditions. Johnny and I decided to sit down and play Segata Sanshiro Shinken Yuugi and see how good or bad it is for ourselves.
Alright, Segata, show me the moves. Oh my god.
Alright. Aka.
Okay. Wait, yeah, okay, yeah. I have to like remember where the Saturn buttons are because I haven't played a lot of Saturn. Don't tell him I said that though.
This is a basic game of Simon Says, where you have to repeat after Segata Sanshiro and do the correct button inputs to make the JPEG on the left of the screen do various poses. If you're able to score 60 points or more without failing, you'll unlock the Shining Force 3 commercial.
Now I'm beginning to question how canon Segata Sanshiro Shinken Yuugi for the Sega Saturn truly is to the wider Segata mythos. Because this seems a little bit inaccurate just based on what I know.
So what are you actually doing right now?
I'm literally just button mashing.
You got 4 of them.
In this game, Sanshiro fights against a bunch of robots that sort of look like the Ape Escape guys. I honestly don't know how this game works, considering I did better at it when I was just button mashing. If you're able to successfully throw 10 of them onto the landmines in a row without getting blown up yourself, you'll unlock the Bomberman fight commercial.
I mean, there was, of course, the commercial where he's like, oh my god. Oh, we throw him in an... Well, I guess we're not supposed to crash into the houses.
This holiday-themed shmup has you controlling Sanshiro in a Santa costume as he glides across the night sky, delivering presents to houses. Along the way, you'll smash into the sides of buildings and get killed by flocks of birds. If you're able to deliver 70 presents before reaching the goal, you'll unlock the Christmas commercial.
This game is less about having fun and more about learning discipline. I feel like if I am ever to beat any of these, like my patience in everyday life will go through the roof. That was a 10? Come on, Segata.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
This game has Sanshiro testing his might by attempting to break stone plates with his head. The basic mechanic is very similar to how you hit the ball in a golf simulator, like Mario Golf or something. But there is very little margin for error. You must break 40 plates in 3 rounds. The highest score you can achieve in each round is a perfect 14, which means you need 2 13s and at least 1 14, or a 12 and 2 14s. The pressure is high and you have to be pixel perfect. I ended up wasting way too much time on this one. If you're able to meet that win condition, you unlock the commercial for Solo Crisis.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, 20, no doubt.
Alrighty.
I will say it feels
yeah.
a little ridiculous, like taking this game seriously when it's like this.
Yeah, we're like earnestly trying to play it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
If you've ever played the Mario Party game Roll Call, then you already know what this is. You count things on the screen as they move around. In this case, clones of Segata Sanshiro that are riding on dragons. While this concept works well as a 30-second Mario Party minigame, the novelty of this one wears off very quickly, especially since you're expected to complete 10 rounds in a row without missing a single Sanshiro. If you somehow have the patience for that, then you'll unlock the Panzer Dragoon RPG commercial. Now is probably as good a time as any to mention that all of these minigames have a text crawl at the very beginning of them to give you a little bit of background story and context for the game that you're about to play. Now, as you can imagine, all of this text is written in Japanese, and neither me or Johnny is fluent in Japanese, so what I had to do is use the Google Translate app's real-time translation tool to try to make some sense of this text for us. Now, unfortunately, the text was actually scrolling faster than the app could translate, which resulted in this. Segata Sanshiro, who was training, hears the voice of a woman calling for help from somewhere. Dell. It was as if nothing had happened, but his well-trained ears could... his trained ears could not be deceived. His ears don't even hear the sound of a needle falling 3 kilometers away. They don't even hear? That's what I shouted. Run as fast in the direction of the voice bottom. The voice was heard from the top of the burning building. Dell. The fire brigade hadn't arrived yet. He didn't, but he wasn't the one to wait. Personal danger, etc. Without a second thought, he plunged into the great ocean. I went, "Hurry, Segata Sanshiro." If you'd like to hear more of me reading poorly translated Segata Sanshiro lore, then go check out my extended gameplay video on the DevNull Patreon. I'm very happy to say that after our last video, we actually reached our first Patreon goal of 10 Patreon members. So let's see if we can make it to 20. Every little bit helps a lot, so I just want to take the time now to say thank you to all current Patreon members, and thank you for being a part of this small but growing, hopefully, community. And speaking of support, right now, workers at Sega of America are in the process of organizing a union to help improve their quality of life at the company. You can follow them on Twitter, @TakesAegis, and find out what you can do to support the folks at Sega who bring these games to life. All right, back to you, Johnny.
In this game, you control Sanshiro as he climbs up levels of a burning building. It's an auto-runner game where you have to jump over and dodge various obstacles. It's pretty brutal, though. If you get hit once, it's game over. But if you're able to reach the top of the 15th floor in time, you will be awarded the commercial for Burning Rangers.
You know what? This is actually a little bit like Pepsi Man.
You know? Actually, yeah, you're not wrong.
It's like an
I
auto
hadn't thought
runner
about
with
that,
obstacles and kind of jank. This minigame, which lasts a total of 60 seconds, is a very simple matching game. You have to find as many matches of the sample photo of Segata Sanshiro as possible before the time runs out. Or like you can get them all early, because I don't think there are anymore. So maybe it's just if you want to end the game.
Seems only when I
early.
select this one. Oh, maybe that's what it is. Let me try. Yeah, that's it. Hey!
Nice.
Surely that was not the whole game. Surely he's not going to reward me for performing such a menial task. Surely we're not unlocking a commercial right now. Oh my god. We won one.
Holy shit.
Oh my god. Why is there a big one? Oh, damn it. Okay, well. I got a little too silly there.
In this one, Sanshiro is ice skating, and the goal is to get his speed up to 100 kilometers per hour. If you accomplish this incredible feat, you'll unlock the Winter Heat commercial. This one is pretty similar to When in Doubt, Use Your Head, except you have to develop a rhythm and make sure the pain gauges, I guess, don't reach past their limit. If you get a little too silly, you turn our boy into a solid block of ice.
Hey, what does Segata look like, a garbage can? Taking a page from Captain Planet, it's your job to help Segata Sanshiro punch and kick various trash that's being thrown at him into a giant dumpster. If you're able to get 16 tons of junk in the dumpster, you'll unlock the Greatest 998 commercial.
That hit me and I hit it somehow. Really rather annoying, but I guess it's better than to have not hit it. Oh boy,
you're so
my
close.
god.
Oh.
No! Wait,
Yes.
yeah, we won, we got it! He's so happy.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 2, we beat 2 of them. Segata,
Oh, no,
it's okay,
Segata.
I got you, dude. Maybe? No, that wasn't a combo. This is a difficult match 3 puzzle game for sure. Which is deeply unfortunate for our friend on the right over there.
As somewhat of a Puyo Puyo enthusiast myself, I was very interested in this Segata Sanshiro branded Match 3 puzzle game. The gameplay is pretty odd since you can't flip the pieces horizontally. You can just cycle through, shuffling them vertically. You have to get combos of at least 4 to prevent Sanshiro from drowning. So basically, the water level acts as a timer, and you have to continuously get combos to keep refreshing that timer. It was actually very hard, and I couldn't clear it during our gameplay session. The clear condition is a little unusual because it's not like a survival mode where you have to last a certain amount of time, or even that you have to clear the board a certain number of times. The goal is achieving one massive combo. You are expected to clear 15 little fishies with a single move in order to unlock the Deep Fear commercial. I didn't have it in me, so we sent Sanshiro to a watery grave. God rest his soul.
Segata, I'm sorry, I'm trying my best. Oh boy, okay. No, it's a diagonal. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it.
Oh, Segata.
Oh, this is nerve-wracking.
Segata.
Oh, shit. Well. Oh my god. I'm sorry, Segata.
Rip.
I've failed you.
Give up. Listen to his command. My overall verdict is that the game is very cheaply produced, unoriginal, and basically just a bunch of clones of other, better existing games, or minigames. But it's surprisingly challenging and can even be fun, for a few minutes at least. Completing a game is quite easy, but achieving the required score to unlock the commercials is actually extremely difficult. Forget Dark Souls, it's Segata Sanshiro time now. This might all be well and good if this was just a collection of Flash games that you could play for free on the Sega website or something, but this was a full-price video game with physical copies that sold for 4,800 yen, or about $35 in 1998. Taking our domestic rate of inflation into account, that's about $64 today. Although, given Japan's low average rate of inflation at 0.23% each year since 1998, that would probably cost 5,077 yen today, a price increase of 5.79%, which converts to about $38 today. For comparison, prices have increased by 85% in that same amount of time in the US, a perfect example of how US purchasing power is dropping and how inflation is out of control in large part thanks to price gouging from monopolistic megacorps and a complicit regulatory system run by a revolving door of corrupt hedge fund managers turned politicians. Whew, sorry. Something just came over me. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that this bargain bin minigame collection was not worth what it was being sold for. Also, putting in the time and effort to unlock all the ads in the game sounds like a Herculean task. While it seems grueling and repetitive, I'm actually surprised I couldn't find a single speedrun of this game on the internet, considering Pajama Sam has an entire speedrunning community. I would think the level of difficulty of this game would be attractive to speedrunners, but maybe they're not as masochistic as I think they are. If any speedrunners are watching this right now, maybe you could be the first to set the world record. I'm looking at you boys. While Segata Sanshiro Shinken Yuugi was the only game that starred Segata, he ended up making many cameo appearances in other titles over the years. By the way, I forgot to mention, as soon as this video is released, Johnny will have some new content over on their channel, a sort of complimentary video to this one. You can sort of think of it as like the red and blue versions of Segata Sanshiro videos. We each go into detail in sections that the other glossed over, so as soon as this video is over, check out the one over at Johnny's channel.
Before we move on, I did want to mention the most bizarre Segata cameo of all. Project X Zone 2, a 3DS crossover tactical RPG featuring characters from Sega, Bandai Namco, and Capcom, released in 2016. You might be thinking, that sounds like a really weird game. And that's why it's perfect for Segata Sanshiro. He has an entire chapter of the game dedicated to him. Chapter 21, You Must Play Sega Saturn. As you can imagine, his presence as a character makes everything get very weird very quickly, and has some bizarre implications for Segata Sanshiro canon. How does he know all the other Sega characters? Is he an immortal, interdimensional demigod? Probably.
The legend will never die.
Weeks after the release of Shinken Yuugi, in November of 1998, the Sega Dreamcast was released in Japan. Segata Sanshiro had fulfilled his life's purpose by singing in the praises of the Sega Saturn until his untimely accident. The mantle of Sega's advertising mascot would pass on to another middle-aged man, Hidekazu Yukawa, the former managing director of Sega. Though perhaps an unlikely candidate, the businessman starred in a new series of quirky commercials. The campaign became so popular that this new spokesperson would earn the nickname Mr. Sega. Yukawa-san would serve as the spiritual successor to Segata Sanshiro, promoting the Dreamcast in many TV appearances. The similarities run deeper than you might expect. Mr. Sega has a prominent cameo in the demo disc for the hit Dreamcast game Shenmue called What's Shenmue? He even has his own Dreamcast title, Yukawa Moto Senmu no Otakara Sagashi, a puzzle game where you play as Yukawa-san himself. The gameplay consists of Mr. Sega wandering the world, digging up various puzzle pieces of Sega-branded treasure. It seems like the torch was successfully passed down to the next generation of Sega spokesmen.
But wait! Like all timeless stories, the legend of Segata Sanshiro refuses to fade into history. In 2020, in honor of Sega's 60th anniversary as a company, a new series of commercials was produced. Did you know that Sega was founded in 1960 and made jukeboxes and pinball machines? Yeah, me neither. Anyway, this new campaign would feature a character named Sega Shiro, the son of Segata Sanshiro.
Sega Shiro, Sega Shiro, Sega Shiro, whoa.
He even has his own theme song. Sega Shiro seems to have inherited his father's undying passion for all things Sega, given his encyclopedic knowledge of Sega's more obscure products. Sega Shiro is actually played by Hiroshi Fujioka's real-life son, Maito Fujioka. During the second commercial, we learn that young Sega Shiro was traumatized by witnessing his dad explode all those years ago in 1998. I'm not sure if it's sloppy writing or not, but the timeline just doesn't add up here. This campaign was released in 2020, and Segata's son looks to be in high school. Assuming that he's maybe 6 or 7 years old during this flashback in 1998, high schooler Sega Shiro would be almost 30 years old at this point. In the third commercial, Sega Shiro battles a villain straight out of Kamen Rider, dressed all in black, Hatan Shiro, who seeks to destroy Sega.
成長したな。
Segata Sanshiro is alive! It's a miracle!
I hate to be that guy, Devnull, but actually, real ones know that our hero has been alive and well for a while. In 2013, Hiroshi Fujioka confirmed that Segata Sanshiro was still alive, despite being blown up in space, and in 2019, Fujioka reprised his role as Segata Sanshiro at the annual Sega Fest, singing his iconic theme song, live.
And last but not least, the live performance.
The fact that Segata was still alive was teased back in 2012 in Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed. Wow, that's a catchy title. He makes a brief cameo. He can be seen riding a rocket wearing his iconic massive Sega Saturn on his back. He may have been riding that rocket for 20 years, but the man still lives.
父さん、これからお前が新しいセガを守っていくんだ。父さん、セガシロ、俺を超えていけ。父さん、俺を投げ飛ばせ。父さん、さあやるんだ。父さん。うわりゃ！
So, is he actually dead now?
It's already established that explosions don't faze him. Segata Sanshiro may be immortal, but it's clear that now his job is finally done. It's up to you to keep his dream alive in all of your hearts. And now I will leave you with the words of our hero.
Sega Saturn Shiro!
Segata Sanshiro, Segata Sanshiro, Sega Saturn Shiro. Tennis やカラオケナンパにクラブ他にすることあるだろうが